Oye, mina belta, mi inya, Sasuke, mi tumang, yamseng.
And one of my favorite opening scenes, one of the great opening scenes, which I forget what episode it is when the Belter slingshotter is getting, he's, what do they call that when they're in the solo ship? It's a slingshot, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And they're all watching.
And everybody's watching him, and he does this slingshot towards the ring.
Yep.
And they play Deep Purple's Highway Racer, which is a great tune.
Oh, I didn't.
Fabulous tune. Just it sounds so great in that. And watching the third time, like, hold a second, that's not Deep Purple. Those are not the lyrics.
Oh.
They translated the lyrics into Belter.
Oh, that's amazing. So we are talking about The Expanse. Great TV show, possibly the greatest science fiction series that has ever been made, based on the novels of James S.A. Corey, which is actually two different people. And I have been rewatching them with my eldest, and we have been having a heck of a time. And what do we say? It's like, we can't help it. I mean, we're just like, we can stop anytime we want. We can stop anytime we want. Yeah, we're not addicted to this show. You want to watch one? Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Put it on now. It's incredible. We watched 2 seasons and a little bit of the third. And we finally got to that scene that you mentioned where the Belters, led by drummer Karina. No, what's her first name? Kamina Drummer. They go and get the Mormon ship that's been floating, the Nauvoo. At first you think, oh, good, they're rescuing the ship for the Mormons. That's nice.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Wait, maybe I have a phrase for that. I don't even know what this means. Ereda belte no desh okwa kakagut. Coping.
Pampa? Yeah.
Walla Walla.
Yeah, well, that's straight from, I think, from Indian, right? A walla, like dishwalla.
Yeah, right.
The person who installs satellite dishes. There's like the dishwalla and things like that. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but they're mashing together. It was designed by a guy on the staff.
Amazing. It's a great made up dialect.
Well, that's an interesting place to begin, because there's a lot of interesting things that poured into this show that you don't like. For example, as we mentioned the last time we talked, the history of creating made up languages is not is a graveyard for many people, such as Jar Jar Binks and things like that. So people try not to do it that much, other than just really very sort of superficial attempts. But in creating the Belter lingo, they did a lot of research. The 2 guys who wrote the books, Frank and Abraham, I think are their names. It's 2 guys. The name is James S.A. Corey, but it's a nom de plume for 2 guys who writes the books. And they said, they openly acknowledged how they looked at like the PLO and the IRA.
Interesting.
Certainly, I mean, I may be making this up, but I think they clearly said the IRA, which is that's sort of the basis of the OPA. It's more sort of like a trade union / smuggling ring / thug toss. That's where it comes from, And so they're looking at that. They're looking at contemporary phenomena. They're looking a lot at ancient history. Just look at the titles of the episodes. Gaugamela is the title of one episode, which is a very famous battle with Alexander the Great and Persia. So they're tapping into a lot of stuff, and the Kazakh tapping into a lot of stuff. And today I was trying to do some research, and what's fascinating is that for such a magnificent series, there's very little out there about why it's so good. And in fact,
Yeah.
I went to Google search. And I said, "Why does The Expanse look so much better than everything else out there?" And all you get is some stupid discussion of like dithering and introducing white noise into frame rendering or something. I mean, just some nonsense thing.
Right.
You're looking at some. What are you looking at, Jim? Your eyes
Oh,
are.
I am just I'm looking at Belter lingo phrases, and I'm just
So the
obsessed
last 5 minutes
now.
are just okay. Fine, let's go
I
back
heard
to
everything you said.
Yeah, Maya.
I
Yeah,
did,
honey, I heard
cocaine.
everything you said.
I heard everything you said, Pampa.
You never listen to me. No, and the
Ja,
Belter lingo is
Lichtbarstein.
fascinating. And you mentioned that scene
Yeah.
where a young lady on Eros is trying to not Eros, on the main one. Is trying to teach the young police officer how to speak Belter.
Yes, that's a really cool. That's in season 1, and right. It's right. It's a she's a prostitute, and the other cops think that he's going there for the obvious reason, but he's going there to learn the lingo, and a lot of the lingo involves hand signs,
hand gestures,
because when you're in space and if you don't have a radio signal between you, you need a way to communicate. And so there's basic sign language that goes along with all of the Belter lingo, which is another detail.
It's another layer of thought that you don't get. So, well, I can talk forever and ever. Amen. What direction do you want to go?
Takeaways. Boy, I mean, there's so much. So I've seen all of this before, more than once, and each time I watch it, there are more details that I notice. Every scene is so well thought out and connecting with future episodes in a way that at least feels like they really planned a lot of it. They had to have planned a lot of it because they had the books. But I was just impressed. I'm also impressed by the CGI. I'm impressed by the scenes in space are very good, even though they do have sound in space, which is stupid. I maintain will forever be stupid. But the interesting thing that I found was how weighty the spaceships look. They really seem to, the inertia of the ships you can feel it. And the inertia of the ships actually is a huge part of the plot. Unlike other spaceship shows, when you accelerate, tremendously away, the people inside could die, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the Marine was saying, I've trained for this. I can handle 6 Gs. But Avrasavala, who's in the back, can barely handle 1 in space. And you can, it takes a toll on her.
And I got to say, listening to us talk about this, it sounds like The Expanse is just some really nerdy, really well done, precious little thing. When you watch that scene with Avasarala and Bobby Draper trying to escape the missiles from Jules Pierre Mao's group and stuff like that, spaceship with the seats on the gimbals, they're on gimbals so they can all rotate in 360 degrees.
Can't give back the Razorback.
The Razorback is the Razorback is the name of the ship, and it's like a racing thing. Julie Mao's favorite competition ship. Yeah. And you have it's a 2-seater. The seats are mounted one behind each other, but both seats are mounted on a 360 gimbal. So as the ship pivots and moves, the seats can move too. It is such a throbbing rock and roll moment.
It really is.
Because this is the heart of what I want to get to, is that when you've grown up reading science fiction books, you remember the covers. And the covers look so cool because science fiction book covers went through all these, and all these people got into doing it. And eventually in that Darwinian mix, some people came out of it who were really good at making really, really compelling science fiction covers with these amazing spacescapes, with these amazing, and I know this sounds totally stupid to a lot of people, and it is totally stupid. It is, trust me. But the whole point, some people look at a Harley Davidson and they get a throbbing boner. I look at science fiction covers, and the problem with it is that a lot of people made science fiction films and a lot of people made science fiction TV. And none of them have ever come close to like the rock and roll moment on those covers. They really haven't. Kubrick came a little bit close to it, but 2001 was such an esoteric, weird, very depressing film, very sort of nihilistic film in a lot of ways. It didn't really count
Yeah.
because nobody won and nobody lost, and there was no struggle. And the only thing that actually happened was this computer went nuts and tried to kill everybody, and it turns into like a CSI episode. But nobody had really done that space opera thing and made it look like that until The Expanse. There are many scenes in The Expanse where it's like, this is a beautiful realization of all those different covers that people were painting for, much the same way we talked last time about Mobius and the realization of Mobius's work in The Fifth Element.
Heavy metal scene, yeah.
And Valerian and the City of a Thousand Stars. This is The Expanse. That scene of turning around the ship, the Mormon ship, beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And
it's gorgeous.
But the great thing is you have that throbbing rock and roll moment, like that heavy metal moment of, hundreds of drone fusion jets attaching to this big cylinder and turning around. And the detail they have that when it gets past a certain point of rotation, the engines flip.
Yes.
Like the port ones go out and the starboard. And it's just like, at that point, I'm just like, I want to be alone right now for a few minutes, everybody. But the whipped cream on top of it is when they cut into it, and the music changes, like all this rock, like all this really dramatic music, all of a sudden goes really quiet, and they float down into the command deck of the Nauvoo. And on the walls are all these murals of Mormon settlers crossing the prairie, these oil-painted, hand-painted murals of settlers with rifles on horses crossing the prairie in 1840s, I think is when the Mormons migrated to Utah.
Yep.
And it's such an amazing, beautiful moment because there's Kamina Drummer just looking at these things. And you got to realize this is a woman who, if she even knows what a horse is, it's just a picture in a book.
Yeah, there's a deer. There's a deer in one of the paintings. And
there's a deer, and there's horses, and there's mountains, and there's green. But the funny thing is, there's a real connection between the Mormons and the Belters. They're both trekkers. They're both people who left their homeland and who are in motion. So so it hits all the buttons for me. It really hits all. It's both intellectual and rock and roll.
So my child and I both felt the same thing of this kind of terrible regret at the abuse that the Mormons are suffering among the Belters, who originally welcomed them and let their ship dock there. And the ship was going to go to a near star.
They're building it.
They built it for them.
Yeah, Tycho Labs built it for them.
Yeah, and then they decide to ram it against an asteroid, and they miss. And then they go get it, and obviously, I'm up to the point where I'd forgotten all this stuff. They've got another plan for this ship that they built, and all the Mormons were going to go settle a distant star. And maybe they would have all died, but that was what they wanted to do. And it very much is in keeping with their, leaving upstate New York and heading west and all of that. And it's sort of this religious thing. And they're all really cheerful and nice, in the stations. They're in Ceres and they're on Tycho, and these are different places in the belt. And
there's other religious. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
No, and maybe one of them says, we're going to have a comedy show. Would you like to come? I bet you didn't think that Mormons told jokes. And they're charming, right? And the Belters just abuse that trust like horribly. And they're in a spot, of course. But
I don't
want to get too much plot, but
that's the Belters. The Belters. Yeah. It is basically. The clear antecedent to virtually everything about the Belters is pirates. Pirates have their own lingo. I matey, R, and all that, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. So that's that. They have a harsh code of ethic. They have a harsh code. They're hard drinking. They're ruthless. They're superstitious. But they can show a soft side, all that nonsense. So it's basically just pirates. You just basically, the only thing they're missing is an eye patch. And they're pirates. But going back to that interesting thing, another fascinating thing about The Expanse, again, what makes it deep is that it does treat religion in a non-childlike way.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a Methodist. The key woman in, I think, is it season 4 or season 5? I think it's, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't. So I remember only a
Anna
little bit of
Volavida.
season.
Anna Volovodov is the key figure in the one where they find, and she's
season 3.
She's a reverend, I believe.
Yep.
And there's a scene where there's this young man who's a Methodist. There's that whole scene and the whole Mormon thing. And then there's the thing where Josephus Miller's taking a shuttle and he meets like this evangelist who talks to him about stuff. And it's good. Yeah. I think it's good because because the usual preference of science fiction is just to push religion completely off the stage and not deal with it in any way whatsoever. But I thought that's the nice thing about The Expanse is that it's much more inclusive. It sucks in a lot more different elements. And it's a lot more realistic about stuff. What else are you looking up now?
I'm looking up all the actors actually.
Oh, I thought if you're looking at more Belter lingo, I'm going to rage quit.
No, I'm all done with that. But I was trying to find out. I always forget his name. He's been in a lot of great things. Anderson Dawes has been in a bunch of stuff. He's in Foundation, but actually, it's very hard to find his name. His name is actually not what I thought it was. This is such a huge cast. It's insane. And
it's amazing that he's considered like a secondary cast member when he's so huge. You look up the same page I'm looking up.
Yeah, Anderson. Jared Harris. Harris. Yeah,
he's
amazing.
He plays Dr. Moriarty in one of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes films. He's fabulous in it. Really gripping. But as Anderson Dawes,
really good.
He's really good. And same with David Strathairn, who plays Clazel Ashford, the Anderson Dawes' deputy. Yes. He's a magnificent actor too.
He's been in a lot of things.
And they got a great cast.
Some new faces that I'd not seen before. Thomas Jane, who played Josephus Miller.
He was great.
Amazing. Cass Anvar, who had to actually, he's a great actor, but he apparently just is completely inappropriate with the opposite gender, and they ditched him. And that is kind of a really messed up tale. Really, the tragic thing about it is that if he just kept himself under control, he really portrayed an important character, someone of Persian origin, right? So Iranian, who
really
had a strong.
Supposed to be Indian.
Well, he's Alex Kamal.
Oh no, the backstory's in the books. There's a colony on Mars that was settled by Texans and Indians.
Oh, Indian,
people from India. And so therefore you have a whole bunch of people from India who speak with a Texan accent. That's why he speaks the way he does.
Yeah.
That's why he's obsessed with like cowboy bars and things like that.
And he's always talking like, okay, saddle up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be hitting some heavy G's. I mean, it's wonderful. But personally, the actor's terrible. Wes Chatham, Amos Burton, unbelievable.
Well, so that was his. So that was. I mean, if anybody came out of this the Expanse with a greatly expanded career, it was him. Like
I haven't seen him in anything else.
That's what I mean. People love him. I mean, but he became he rocketed. He became very well known to a lot of people because of the Amos role. Did a really good job. So, religion is good. Historical insights, a good plot, a good amount of humor, made up languages. And what was interesting is as I was thinking about this stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that just makes a lot of sense, like that whole thing on Eros.
Yeah.
was really good. Like, is really real. Like this corporate thing. What are they doing? Why are they shutting down the subways? Like, what's going on? Everybody
Right.
go to the radiation shelters so you
Oh
can be
yeah.
irradiated.
Yeah. Well, the nefarious plot that's happening, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
that is really chilling, and of course it reminds you of, like, yeah, I mean, coal mining towns and diamond mines, and I mean, it's an interesting political setup because and the first time through, I really didn't get it. I couldn't tell the difference between Martians and Belters, right? So clearly, I was very confused by the show starting out, and then second time, third time, the difference is very stark. But Mars is a separate nation essentially, and they're all working towards making Mars green, and they have solidarity, and they're very militaristic. And the Belters are the oppressed. They're the workforce, and they pull in these giant asteroids or comets, or chunks of comets that contain fresh water, and it all goes down the well to Earth, right? Or it
right.
all goes down to the well to Mars, and
They
none of
do
it
all the
stays in
shipping.
the belt.
Yeah, they do a lot of they do a lot of the shipping. They inhabit the asteroid belt. Yeah, and they ship things back and forth. And as you mentioned, they haul ice.
They haul ice, and they don't get fresh water. If the boss man don't want to send you fresh water, you don't get it. And so that's how they control the working population, the labor. In a sense, it's kind of like a slave labor class because they would always turn off the air and turn off the water, and it's all run by the big corporations, except for the terrorist group, which is the OPA. But by terrorist, we simply mean, right, that the belt wants to control the means of production in the belt.
Yeah,
And that is seen as a terrible threat by Earth, is that they could cut off Earth. Of course, Earth has air and water, right? Mars
right.
doesn't. Mars needs it more, but the belt really needs it. And what
Yeah.
they're terrified of is that the belt will become independent and powerful, and then they will start calling the shots especially in terms of
Right.
Mars.
As Christian Avasarala, if Mars and the Belters decide to share a toothbrush, what does that mean for us?
Right.
So you have a classic three body problem, three body political problem, and it's cool. I mean, they really work through it. They really, Mars has the newer stuff. Mars has newer stuff, but Mars has newer and more powerful ships, but Earth has more of them. I
Right.
think Mars is really, if I were to hazard a guess, I would really think they're thinking about Israel
Interesting.
yeah, because it's very much sort of the kibbutzim kind of vibe is what I got. Sort of like that whole sort of kibbutz thing, so socialistic, everybody working together towards a common goal. They're very
Right.
disciplined. Everybody serves in the military.
Everybody serves in the military.
Yeah, it's
Alex,
just it feels like that.
the pilot Alex, is very proud of his service, right? He keeps talking about, that he was discharged. He was discharged with honors. He was
Honorably discharged.
honorably
probably.
discharged. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he mentions it often. I mean, really, all of the characters are so well thought out.
Mhm.
But you have this, instead of like the Bridge of the Enterprise, where you have three main characters that are important, the captain, the doctor, and the science officer. In this case, you have five. So
Well,
you
you have Amos, Alex, Holden, and Naomi. So
Naomi.
I think
So
that's four, right?
Amos, Holden, Alex, Naomi, four.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking five. Well, Prax joins them for a little while, but he's not.
Yeah,
He's not the
there's
main
people
character,
who
yeah.
come and go.
Yeah.
And then Clarissa Mao joins them for a bit too
Mhm.
at the very end. So there are various characters that rotate on and off, but the core four of those, like Bobby comes on board for a while.
Yeah. Bobby
and all
Draper.
that
Now,
kind of stuff.
I didn't appreciate Bobby Draper the first time around. I was like,
I love
what
it.
is this kind of hardcore Marine kind of a character? And I can't quite figure her out. And now this third viewing or second viewing that I'm doing now, one of my favorite characters is Bobby Draper.
So you got to the
She's
point where
just
she
incredible.
claimed asylum, right? You got to that point?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Past that. So yeah,
The
that
point at
just,
which she beats the shit out of her super commanding officer.
Yep.
I
Yep.
love that scene
Yeah.
so much. That
She-
scene was so perfectly done. She's like, look, you're going to. And she just, and she's up to that point, she's been very obedient. She's very nice and she's very soft. And
Get
then
in
she
line,
just
soldier.
says, yeah, pack your bags and get out of here. And she just shuts the door, kicks the crowd out, says, you're going to tell me. And he says, you're not going to get shit. And then she starts beating him again and says, okay, it's over there. You can look at it. I thought that was a beautiful scene.
He
also,
caves.
and that scene, I know a lot of people wouldn't like it. That whole thing where she goes to the water side.
Yes.
My favorite scene.
Twice.
Right.
That was so sorry, just one thing about the water side. She escapes the room. She goes to the water side to see the ocean. She wants to see the ocean.
She's in New York City.
Finds her there. And then they put her in a more restrictive room. And the next scene, she's down at the ocean again.
Right.
They don't even show it this time. It's like, of course she got up. She's Bobby Draper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I think
go ahead. Yeah, it was amazing.
No, the scene I really like, and I think it shows the depth. I don't think it's in the book, but I don't know. But one of my favorite scenes of all time, because it's not a scene you would put in a science fiction show at all. In any way whatsoever. Bobby Draper's walking along and she's trying to find her way. She has escaped from the Martian embassy in Manhattan. Right. The Martian, it's sort of like the UN. The Martians have like this enclave in Manhattan that's completely locked down. And she manages to escape from that. And she's basically down, I guess, by the Hudson or something like that. But she's trying to get down there. She can't find it. And she's asking people, and people won't give her an answer because she's basically walking through like a refugee camp. And finally, she finds this guy who's obviously having an overdose and who's shaking, and she just stares at him. And this other guy walks up and says, "Don't mind him. He doesn't have his meds anymore because he can't afford them anymore, but he'll be okay in a couple of." And she talks to him, and he's this guy who says, "Yeah, I trained to be a doctor." He said, "And I entered my name in the lottery 43 years ago. I'm still waiting. But in the meantime, I'm here." And he says, and he can tell that she's from Mars. And he says a lot of things, but one of the things he says is, when he's done talking to her, he says, to fix, you're getting dizzy, right? From the horizon. She goes, "Yeah." He says, "Well, this is what you do. You put your feet together and you stare at your feet like this. And then you very slowly lift your head by degrees and look straight forward. Now do it." And she stands there and she puts her feet together and lifts her head up and she goes, "Oh, that's great." And she turns around and he's gone. And I think that really took my breath away, that scene.
That was an amazing scene on a couple of different levels, because you only hear the very high up politicians talking about what life on Earth is like, and for most of the show. And then in this one scene, whereas Alpha Savala is saying like, well, we have too many people and we don't have enough jobs for them. So everyone's on a kind of
basic assistance,
or what are they calling it now with the AI thing? Basic minimum income, something like that. And you just leave it at that for the longest time. And then suddenly you come down here and you realize what that means. You know, what that it's really not enough for a lot of people to live on. And a lot of people are destitute and homeless and drug addicted or just messed up. And Bobby's the one who sees all of that. Right. So you kind of catch the lie. Bobby catches the lie on Mars and on Earth. So she's this wonderful go-between character where you kind of see the reality in both places.
Mm-hmm. Fabulous. I mean, her whole thing is so good and she's so funny. She's a good comic actor. She makes you laugh.
There's a scene where you see that really clearly, where Naomi is going to cook for the crew and Bobby's on the ship. Bobby and Abrasavala are on the ship, and she makes a belter kibble dish, red kibble. She goes, "Yeah, I've got a great recipe for red kibble." And so Bobby brings a plate for Abrasavala and herself. Abrasavala doesn't, goes off to do something else, and she takes a fork of it and puts it in her mouth and starts to chew and makes this face that is like I'm gonna spit this out. And then they cut immediately. It is a fraction of a second that you see it, but it's perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, really great, really good.
No.
What is her? Oh, I've lost the screen. But anyway, great acting. Great acting throughout. I mean, I think the only shame about it is it's so dense with information. You really have to watch it multiple times to really get everything. There's so much going on. It's not something you can have on in the background. And the
Yeah, it
odd
doesn't work.
thing, it's apparently trending now, and I know why. Is there is a kind of a large dilemma in the first three episodes, the first three seasons, that builds up, and I don't really want to give too much away, but
No.
there's a kind of a nemesis at work. And that nemesis feels a lot now like AI has been described. It's overpowering, it's smarter than us. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's inevitable. And here's James Holden and his motley crew, and they're like, no, we're going to stop it.
Right.
It really has strong parallels right now with like, well, it's like a new technology and they're trying to harness it. They want to use it as a weapon. They want to use it to help everybody. It's going to be the next phase of human evolution. And it's really odd, it's this incredible metaphor that at the time came out in 2015 that I couldn't possibly have been thinking about.
Well, here's a couple of interesting aspects on that. Did you get to that part where the Rocinante, they saved the Martian sailors who've been stranded in the battlefield?
Yeah, just saw that one.
And the young guy meets Avasarala?
Yes.
I love that scene. Did you see the scene, the episode after that, where that young man goes back to the Martian ship and talks to the captain?
Yeah.
And do you remember the part? It may be really close to what you've seen, and the captain, like almost before battle, calls back and says, "What did you make of Undersecretary Avasarala?"
Right.
And he goes, "Kind of mean."
She is. She's seriously mean. I mean, and I need to find her name. She is a very famous actor and just wonderful.
Shohreh Aghdashloo. You mean the Iranian lady who played her?
Yes. Yeah, it's
Shohreh, Shohreh Aghdashloo or something like that. Shohreh Aghdashloo.
Yep.
I'm probably horribly mispronouncing it. Shohreh Aghdashloo. AGH. She's actually a very famous actress of the Iranian cinema.
I didn't know that.
She's been in a lot of movies in Iran and outside of Iran, but I believe she's Iranian.
She's unbelievable. Unbelievable in this.
She is so funny.
Oh, so good. And I want to compile lines from Avasarala and from Amos. I feel like you could have the book of Amos. Amos has these little sayings that come out.
My favorite one is where Amos is showing Avasarala how to wear space boots.
Yes, that's right.
The magnetic space boots. And he says, now just lean back and click on your heel, click on backwards until they click. And she does. She goes, oh, he says, just like high heels. And she says to him, what do you know about high heels? He says, I didn't always work in space.
Right.
But the better one is much later on, a later episode. He comes to her office and calls her Chrissy. I mean, she's basically the president of, the supreme lead, not the supreme leader, but anyway, he calls her Chrissy. And she says, I'm the undersecretary of the United Nations, not your private lap dancer. And he says, you could be both.
Amos also, so when Prax is kind of musing over the cruelty of the experiments that are going on Io, he says they're just using, they're using people, they're converting people into weapons. Who would do something so cruel to people? And Amos says, you and I had really different childhoods growing up.
Yeah. Really good. Great lines. There's a million great lines. Hopefully nobody's listening to this because it would be totally
we're just jumping from thing to thing. But when you mentioned the Martians that had been on not the Rocinante. Now they've renamed the Rocinante to a different, the main ship, the ship that's in the main ship that the main crew is flying. They go back to their Martian ship, and the commander says, he says, I was there, and James Holden was there. James Holden is now infamous around the solar system. Yeah, and also Bobby Draper was there. Bobby Draper, traitor, famous for being a traitor and escaping and seeking refuge of Earth. And and I also
he pauses and he says, and Undersecretary Avasarala, and the guy responds, "Who else is on the fucking ship? The fucking Easter Bunny,
the Tooth Fairy, the Tooth Fairy,
like Tooth Fairy."
Which is great because, you know, I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens in a TV show, but then it's great to kind of call out like the improbability of that ever possibly happening.
Right. So, what were the pirate films with Johnny Depp?
Oh, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
There's a slice of that. There's a certain, they take a little bit of liberty and they do make it a little bit like a slice of humor that they layer in there. It's very careful because you can easily overdo that and spoil the whole thing. But there's a lot, and I think that guy who's Avasaral's bodyguard, what's his name? Koresh or?
Yes, he's wonderful.
He is far and away the most magnificent cameo actor.
When I'm looking for anybody here, it's so hard to find because the cast is so expansive. So I'm trying to find his name, but no, it's
Kotyar.
It's Kotyar. Okay.
Nick E. Tarabay as Kotyar Ghazi, a security professional working. He is it is such a magnificently understated job.
Yep.
He's a spy, which means he's looked down upon by Bobby Draper. But that whole scene on the perfume bottle, Jules Pierre Mao's flying perfume bottle, as Bobby Draper referred to it as.
He's that famous. He's an embodiment of the famous spy of Henry VIII, or Elizabeth I.
He's from Beirut. He's from Lebanon.
No, but I mean, like his character works as, you know, the fixer, the guy who goes out and does the unsavory thing. That
he's Avasarala's previous. Yeah, he's her covert operative.
Oh, should remember that guy's name. I mean, in history. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like an overabundance of riches in terms of the acting. And it's kind of amazing that it was put together like this. And most of these people you've never seen before. They're all just really good. So it seemed like the casting was like, forget the stars. Let's go and get people who are just really, really good at what they do.
And what's interesting is that when you read the stories about the making of The Expanse, first off the bat, there's not a lot of stories I can see. And second off the bat, it was made by Sci-Fi, not exactly a name synonymous with quality production. I mean, I don't remember them being
right.
I mean, they probably wouldn't. I know nothing about them. It's not that they're bad or good.
But yeah,
they did a few things. So it's really weird. It seems to come out of nowhere, and they just see the music is fabulous. They spent a lot of time talking about the opening title sequence, which is good.
Really?
The music is great. The casting is fabulous. What?
I mean, that's nice, but it's not. I mean, it's probably the production house that matters, because these networks just basically hire a production house to do the show. It's not like
they talk about who it is. It's the same company. The same company did it for 3 years, and then the series got sold to Amazon, and Amazon continued it. But the first three seasons were done by Sci-Fi. And the main showrunner, I watched an interview with him. He started out, he went to Cornell as an art student. And then early on, he transferred over into a science career. He got like a PhD in like chemistry or something like that. And then he decided he's going to go back to art. He didn't like the research, biological research route. So some friends told him that he could come and live in Hollywood. So he went to LA and got involved in stuff. And he said, he says one of the appeals of the season is that we respect science. We respect physics.
Yeah.
And the first time you see a ship firing its engines full blast and going backwards, you're like, what? And then after a while, you get it. It's like, that's what you have to do to decelerate. If you want to decelerate, you flip and burn. There's so many great terms from the thing. Flip and burn, tea kettle run. I love that one, tea kettle run. But flip and burn means, you accelerate as fast as you can towards your destination. And then at the midpoint, you flip the machine around, you flip the rocket around and burn in the opposite direction to bleed off all your acceleration.
So you don't go through the planet that you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, the first few times you see it, you're like, okay. And then you get into it. You're like, okay, this makes sense. Like there's not a lot of hand wavium present in this production.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the difference between like a missile and a spaceship in this case is you can roughly steer the spaceship, but it really acts a lot like a missile. It's sort of, you thrust in one direction. If you want to stop, you got to thrust in the other direction. And each one of those thrusts is going to take something out of the crew. It's the battle scene where near Ganymede, where the Rocinante it's called the Rocinante at that point, has to fight the stealth ship in order to, is it near Ganymede? I mean, it's...
No, there's one famous thing where they're approaching like this floating, it's the research, it's the ring where Protogen or Protocorp or whatever, what is the name of the company? Protogen Research Facility, which is a ring, and they go fly out to that to blow it up, to invade it, because that's where they find the guy who runs the whole proto-molecule. They find Dresden, who's the guy who's in charge of all the proto-molecule research. Right. That's where they go and they fight, and they have the 3 basically shipping containers filled with belters. The belters are in like these, and one of them says FedEx. I'm amazed they got that signed off on. They have these 3 shipping containers filled with belter, basically irregular raiders, and they fire those at this ring. And the Rocinante's job is to take out. There's a stealth ship there and a cannon that they've got to take out.
Right.
But the whole pace of the thing is set by that first encounter, that first CQB. The second episode is called CQB. And that's the episode that really drilled me at that point. Because like, okay, that's a railgun. I can hear they're firing torpedoes now. And they're firing a lot of them. Something's going on. And that struck me as just unbelievably real. Like they take the physics seriously. They were taking battle seriously. It's about the sounds. That's not a torpedo. That's a rail gun. We're in trouble.
Yeah. And the scene where they are doing battle with that stealth ship and they've taken all the oxygen out of the ship and they're strapped in.
Yeah. They've all got spacesuits on. They're strapped in on the inside.
And the bullets go right through the hull to the other side, just missing them. Right. That's what that battle is like. It's not that the bullets don't bounce off the hull, right? It's not like raise shields. There's no shields.
It
shields. Just goes right through.
It's just they're near relativistic. I mean, they're firing these bullets at incredibly high velocity. Their kinetic impact is enormous. So again, they respect physics. And it's a really nice feeling because the screen melts away a little bit at that point. Like you really are. It's not like watching Zardoz, which is like, okay, I'm watching a
very
movie.
Different kind of a thing.
I'm joking. I shouldn't. No, I'm not going to bring up Zardoz again. I promise.
I don't mind if you ever bring up Zardoz. I think Zardoz is it's always on my mind. But The Expanse has been a real treat and a great treat to watch with my kid.
There's virtually no vulgarity. Occasional.
My kids curse like sailors, so
and there's no really overt sex.
Only in the first episode, but it's not awful. It's just that you know what they're doing. But I remember after the first 2 episodes, their response was, "Oh," right? And I said, "Oh, is it bad? Should we not watch this?" And they were like, "No, I love it." It's just that each episode ends with this horrible implication.
Cliffhanger. Yeah, it
Yeah.
ends with a cliffhanger. And again, I think it's that interesting combination of it just has those porn moments, those sci-fi porn moments
Yeah.
that you need to have, but at the same time, it delivers real thinking stuff for you. And on top of that, good music, good casting, good writing, everything. Everything is good. Now, after the third, I found it lost my interest a little bit after the third season. The fourth season is when they go to Ilium, the lithium planet, after they've opened up all the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I
After that
found
thing
after that,
happens,
it's
the
sort
work
of
is done. Yeah.
the first three are really spectacular. The first
I
three seasons are spectacular.
I agree. Well, and the I mean, it all is building towards this other thing that then opens that makes the whole show much bigger. But there's something about everything being confined to the solar system that is marvelous in the first three seasons, and it doesn't have that broad sense of the universe. It's really just we've got resources. We've got these three factions, and they're fighting over these resources, and there's these politics. And once you then introduce something else, it I understand the urge, right? It's like, where do you go from there? But there was so much drama in a kind of it's not a tight space, but a tighter space than galaxies.
Yeah.
And that was a shame to lose that, I think.
Well, that's what they wrote. I read an interview with the authors where they said why we wrote the first, why we even began writing this book at all was because we were fast. Most science fiction either takes place on Earth
Mm-hmm.
or it takes place in the galaxy.
Right.
And they said, well, what about if it's just the solar system and we're stuck on the solar system?
Right.
Which is sort of an older version. It's more like Ray Bradbury kind of stuff. And we've discussed before on this show, I know we did, several years before they started writing this woman wrote Up Against It, which is incredibly similar and in some ways, but incredibly different. It's about ice hauling in the asteroid belt, but it's written almost like it feels like you're reading like the Boxcar Children or
Right.
an episode of Lassie. It's so Western influence and it's so comforting and it's so predictable in its morality. But a lot of the elements are and Ty Frank and the other guy, something Abraham, they acknowledged that they had read Up Against It.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, they wrote, I think, a foreword to the reissued version of Up Against It.
Oh, interesting.
The other fascinating thing that I thought about again, another thing that if we had an audience would cause them to flee screaming is once
No
again
fear.
Stephen R. Donaldson and the Gap
Yes,
Cycle.
The Gap Cycle. Absolutely. Yeah, it
Which
shares a
is-
lot with that.
which is like the Zardoz of space opera
It's true.
fiction. It is such a tormented series of books that is so over the top in a way that nobody else I've read ever even comes close to.
Yeah.
But it's the same. It's a very similar story. You have a
Angus
universe.
Thermopylae is the
There's
villain.
a mining company. It's the major power is United Mining Companies,
Right.
and they have a police force. And there's an alien presence that has this fluid or has this material that will change your DNA and turn you into something else.
Right. Similar.
And there's a lab. There's a secret lab where they're developing this technology. It's floating in space that must be attacked and destroyed. I mean,
True.
it's spooky how close the two books are to
Yeah.
each other in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Morn Highland and
I was just rereading. I was rereading the summaries today. Nick Siccorso.
Nick Siccorso. Yeah.
Right, he's the other captain. His ship is called the Captain's Fancy. Morn
Right.
Highland of the UMCP police, and Angus Thermopylae, who's more like a belter. He's this mad pirate murderer captain. And you have military commanders, and you have space battles, and you've got special covert ops, to an asteroid. I mean, it's very similar, except it's utterly and completely different because the Stephen R. Donaldson books are like you took an enormous amount of acid and then decided to put on a performance of the Ring cycle.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's grim to a greater extent
oh yeah,
than The Expanse. And The Expanse, they'd made a choice in the filming of it. They took all the red out of the the spectrum. If you watch it, it's incredibly blue shifted. So it has that kind of gritty look everywhere. And I was actually surprised that they did that even when they were shooting Earth. Like it would make sense when you're on a ship, you're in the belt, but when you're on Earth, they should have opened the spectrum a little bit more. And I wanted to also say that some of this does remind me of some of the very early work that Larry Niven did with The Long Arm of Gil Hamilton and Protector, where there's a whole Belter culture. In fact, there's the Belter crest, which is also evident in The Expanse. Where they're basically the fashion is mohawk in order to identify as a Belter.
And they decorate their suits. And the suits have paintings on them. Yeah, and he calls them belters. I mean, that is such. I mean, Larry Niven is he's part of now like he's part of the OS of Western science fiction canon. So you don't even feel bad lifting the term. It's Larry. It's like he invented everything.
Everything.
Who cares?
Yeah,
take it from Larry. But it was interesting because when I went to revisit Donaldson's Gap cycle, I was amazed at the parallels between them. So it's sad. But the first 3 episodes really do form a complete and hermetically sealed unit. So if you stop at the end of season 3, it's perfectly logical. I mean, you could go beyond season 3, but not much happens, really.
Yeah.
Not much happens.
The thing is, it's a different style of storytelling after that.
And it gets spread out too far and gets too thin, and you really can't hold on to it. And you don't have these new cultural textures coming in. Like a lot is spent on introducing you to Martian culture. Like I love that whole thing. Oh, did you get to this thing where like it may actually be season 4. Are you into season 4 after the portals have opened up? But you probably remember that whole thing when after the portals open up, all the Martians head out and Mars goes into free fall.
I don't remember that. It's so funny. It's actually great that I've forgotten so much about it because I'm really experiencing it like for the first time.
Oh yeah, I won't say any more, but it's really great because that's a really morally ambiguous episode, and that's what they like. That's what James S.A. Corey like dealing with. They really like dealing with gray zones where not totally perfect people are doing not totally perfect things.
Oh yeah.
And how do you deal with that? So anyway.
No, and there's so much we could talk about each of these characters. Each of these characters have wonderful arcs. One we didn't mention is Fred Johnson, which is incredible. Anderson Dawes, Joe Miller, of course. It was really sad to kind of let go of Joe Miller. They bring him back sort of later on.
He comes back as an actor quite a bit, in fact.
Oh no, I just mean, but I would just mean in the story, his usefulness kind of ends at the end of season 2.
Yeah. Father Bother poured coffee in the parking lot. Do you remember that?
No.
Father Bother poured coffee in the parking lot?
No.
That's Julie Mao's passphrase to open up her computer. So he walks into her apartment and goes, Father Bother poured coffee in the parking lot. And it starts mimicking his voice. He's speaking into his handheld and it starts translating his voice into her. His character, to me is not totally convincing, but at the same time, I still love the actor because you could tell he's doing everything in his power to make this work. But he's this weird kind of like Tom Waits guy.
Yeah.
On an asteroid, and he doesn't really have any connection to anybody or anything else at all. And it's kind of hard to see where he came from or where he's going to. But Thomas Jane, who I think is the name of the actor who played Josephus Miller, made it work. I think by sheer force of personality, he made it work.
No, I loved every moment he was on the screen. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's a
stuff
tough
between
part.
him and James is fantastic. Yeah, just wonderful, wonderful scenes
Yeah.
with him. Oh,
Okay.
well, that's The Expanse. That's The Expanse.
That's the end of this
And,
love fest.
yeah.
And then we're doing the Buddhist book next.
Yep, Chogyam Trungpa's book, How We Live is How We Die. Which I've found.
Trungpa?
I'm sorry, no, Pema Chodron.
No.
Okay. Her teacher, her main teacher was Chogyam Trungpa.
Okay.
Pema Chodron's How We Live is How We Die. So we'll be getting back into a more serious, less science fiction-y subject. And yeah, it is filled with a lot of Buddhist woo, but also a lot of Buddhist wisdom. So it might be an interesting conversation. We shall see. Yeah.
Cool.
Until then,
I'll see you.
Funny Not Funny is produced by Jim Infantino at Slab Media in Boston. Jim Infantino and Lionel Casson are the co-hosts. Our website is funnynotfunny.net. The theme music is from the song Wheel from the album Utopia Revisited by Jim. The opinions presented by the co-hosts are ridiculous and should not be taken seriously by anyone. Our intended audience is literally nobody. If you're listening to this podcast, you should probably pause to reflect on other choices you've recently made. Please do not subscribe or leave a rating or review. It only encourages us to make more. Thanks for listening.